Okay, I really hate wasting anything, and I just did these, I don't know, whatever, test or demonstration cards showing how to use sky figures and how to alter their transition areas just with a simple tap off around them, and before the impressions are made. Simple test, technique to do. But we have all these little, these cards here, and I do hate wasting anything, so I thought we would finish some of these off, okay? You'll see how fast some of these can come together. Now, some of them are, you know, this isn't, my idea of a kind of a scene foundation, but I'll show you how I can use these. We'll just stamp over one of these moons. I mean, I guess you can do two moons, or who knows, maybe that can be some monster eyes or something like that, but I don't think I'm going to do that. We'll just go with some, straightforward scenic designs here based on, with what we already have. It's kind of taking something existing. I don't know what I'll do with this one. Now, this is an extreme type of demonstration right here. I mean, I have these right here, and it's not really, this isn't a mirrored image of this. If this was down here, it would be mirroring right up here. So I'll show you, even with something like this, how you can alter it. Now, the easiest thing for me, of course, is just to cut it off right here and to use these top portions like this for different cards. But, that's, there's no challenge in that. So let's see if we can come up with something even with that one. Okay, now on this one right here, as I was applying the ink, there got to be so much ink on here that kind of applying more wasn't really applying because I had to wait for some of that ink to dry off. The pulp of the paper was super saturated that time, so sometimes you got to let your cards sit out, or I guess you can do some heat setting as well. But let's just kind of finish this one off. Now, on this one right here, I mean, it's going for this kind of eerie, type of feel, atmosphere, setting, etc., fairly dramatic. And I thought we would add to that more with some additional ink like this. See how it's getting darker like that? And when you go darker in, certain areas, anything that's lighter than those darkest of areas will seem one step lighter, okay? So you make it one step darker out here, and the light, by contrast, seems one step lighter, okay? So sometimes people, if you're thinking about something and you're thinking, something's missing here, sometimes it's a little bit of contrast. Just taking things one step darker. And it does change the spirit of it because of that. Our perception is by contrast. So in terms of visual perception, if you do one thing one step darker, everything lighter, by contrast, will seem one step lighter, okay? If you make something softer in a scene, you add texture, and you add a real soft element, anything that's harsher and hard looking, okay, will look that much, I don't know, or hard. I don't know, soft and hard in terms of contrast. It doesn't make it physically softer or something like that. We're talking about visual contrasts here, okay? So that being said, things like I like to use pigmentings. I like to use little highlights in my scenes with the paint pens. Crisp little highlights because it makes the softer things in here seem that much softer. And you just keep pushing the visual range of everything. With whatever it is. It just makes things a little bit more varied. And the more variation that we have, what we're talking about with variation is we're talking richness, okay? The more choices, the better. Now, you can go for certain types of looks where everything is soft, but you're just making a statement in that direction. That can be a very rich surface as well. It just doesn't have a lot of contrast, okay? But contrasts are the easiest way to bring visual richness into a scene, okay? It doesn't mean that things, that are absent of certain types of contrasts, or, don't have you know, can't have the same visual impact. This is just one way to do it, you know. Okay, so this is kind of looking a little bit more dreary and eerie to me, but it does have more contrast, so I think it, I don't know, I guess it's kind of a muddy, you know, murky look, and that's what I'm kind of going for. That's why I added that healed paint, which is not a murky green, but when you layer it over all that black, it does kind of get that way, okay? Because this is kind of an aged, you know, the whole distress line is supposed to have that aged type of look. You know, it's not supposed to be super crisp and bright, you know, like neon colors or something like that. Okay, this is an old octopus design stamp by a company that I'm trying to remember if I did a stamp trade with them. I might have just bought it, but I think I traded, you know, some stamps. That's one of those, you know, manufacturers' perks, if you like. You know, not all manufacturers use their stamps. They're not stampers. They hire someone else to do it. But for me, you know, if there's some company out there that where I like their stamps, sometimes, you know, I wouldn't ask them, hey, can I get some stamps for free? I never did that. But sometimes you know, I would say, hey, I'd go up to their booth and I'd get ready to buy, and they'd say, oh, hey, you know, you know, do you want to trade instead? You know, because they wanted some of my stuff, and I think that was the way it was with Fistful, because I do have quite a few of them, and I remember them sending me out some stuff. I don't know if everyone knows the Fistful of Stamps reference, you know, a fistful of dollars from the Clint Eastwood, you know, movies. The spaghetti westerns. Okay, so this was just octopus. It goes this way, but I thought kind of flipping it upside down, it looks a little bit more kind of monster-y looking. And I thought I would put it down there in the water like that. I should put it like that too, so it's kind of like, I don't know, isn't quite as discernible as an octopus would be. I don't know, maybe it would be. I don't know, I'm not sure. I thought about doing Creature of the Black Lagoon down here, which would be perfect, but I've done that in another video. I don't know, not that I can't use it again, but it wouldn't be. It would have them in kind of the, you know, like the same setting. If I used them again, I think it would put them in a little bit of a different setting, you know, than the video I've done before. Yeah, here, this looks like a little bit of a like a kraken type of you know, thing right in here. Oh, you know what I'll do? Um, Here's this kind of kraken thing coming from the deep, and I'll put like a little fisherman here, like this thing is coming up from below, ready to swallow up the kayaker or something like that. I think that would be kind of interesting. We'll make it where it's unbeknownst to the kayaker, you know. This thing's kind of crawling out of the, swimming up from the depths or something like that. Let me put a little bit of shade in here. I want this this creature to be really coming out of the dark, so I'm kind of darkening in this area like this more. Okay, now that it's stamped out, I can see, you know, what this monster is going to be. You know, this wasn't conceived around this monster. I just went to my private stamps, and I just taken a look around in there, seeing what could possibly work. There was, you know, I could have a skeleton or something like that coming out from the depths. But I thought this would be a little bit more interesting. I didn't want to go like, you know, like, I don't know, this is monster, but less kind of gory horror. Not that skeletons are that way either, but I don't know, this is kind of interesting to me. I haven't used this like this before, and I definitely haven't, you know, done the multi-stamp impression with it like that. Okay, let me see. Let me go get my little, I gotta find a little canoeist or kayak or something like that to stamp in here. Okay, I think I found something even better. These boating fishermen right here. They're kind of like, I don't know, in the darkness or something. Before I stamped it, I was thinking down here I could use this a little bit more shadow in here. Okay, see, I'm just using this very lightly, and I didn't even re-ink it just now. You know, there's a lot of, you know, residual ink on there still. You know, there's actually a ton of it. Oh, this would be a good lesson if anyone kind of watches these videos in sequence. I was talking about transition zones, okay? Believe it or not, this has a transition zone right here. See this? You know, the stamp is real blocky. See, it has all this tone around it. This is one of my first stamps right here that I made because I switched over to labels at one time, so you can see that's hand indexed on this piece of wood right here. Okay. Let's get that inked up. Okay, now what I do is instead of just stamping it like this, okay, and see that harsh kind of square around it? Okay. You want that because it'll transition, you know, the shadow out, and it's also the thing that's defining the ripples in the water, okay? But what you do is you just kind of wipe off the edge around the, you know, the perimeter like this, okay? Try not to wipe off their heads, otherwise they're like the headless fishermen. I don't know, maybe that'd make it a little more horror-like, but, you know, it's a little bit more contrast, the innocence here, you know, instead of, you know, headless, you know, kind of ghouls, or, you know, getting swallowed by the kraken. It's a little bit more kind of content contrast here. Okay, and stamping them out like so. So right there, here they are right here, and here, you know, here the little rowers has his back to the to the whatever, the arms, tentacles, or whatever, you know, they're hidden in for something, you know, not so desirable. And alright, this has that kind of craggy look to it. Composing as I go along here, I need some additional stamp. I need something, you know, when you have something of that theme going with kind of this, something like a, you know, a bony tree to kind of follow suit in something like this might be a good idea. Let's take the Spooky Branch stamp. This is the smaller version off Nature Set number 12. But you can use the larger version, or Crooked Limb or something like that would be a good one. Okay, but I'm putting this in here, and I think that I'm stamping a branch right across the moon. Yeah, just like that. We can get a few different impressions of it up here. It's kind of adding to the whole spirit. It's like you have arms coming from above, and here's arms coming from below, you know, to different, you know, one's flora and one's, whatever, fauna, I guess. But nevertheless, kind of in a thematic way. You know, it's kind of, you know, bringing something up here, or down here, up there as well. So it's kind of coming, you know, these spooky little elements are coming, you know, down. You know, there are little figures, and this one's coming up. It's definitely not, you know, a good place to be unless it's like a pet, like what was it, It in the Addams Family, or is that the Munsters? I don't remember. But anyways, here we have, you know, kind of a little bit of a, I don't know, I think this is, I see this as a Halloween card. I think that would be a good Halloween card for someone that's into that type of thing, you know. So anyways, you know, kind of a murky green, you know what I mean? I don't know, lending itself to that spirit. I don't know, a really bright, you know, lime green, like these, you know, have you know, I don't know, over the last 20 years have become kind of Halloween, you know, types of colors as well. You can do a bright green in there, you know, it would change the spirit. It'd be kind of a happier, you know, Halloween kind of themed color scheme if you went with something like that. But I don't know, murky all around. Now, I think adding some little bit of a pigmenting fog in here, wouldn't that add to kind of the atmosphere to, you know, as well? Maybe I'll finish off these cards in a different video, because this is going to be really wet right now, and I don't want to touch that. Okay, so anyways, let's move on to the next card here. I'm just going to do some, I'm going to try to come up with some really simple solutions here as far as finishing these things off, just based on where they are currently. Okay, so just adding in some additional tones. I'm going to bring in some trees on this one. Okay. That was really fast. This black in here kind of giving it kind of that streaky kind of look. It almost looks like I turned it into kind of more of an ominous looking night sky here. Okay, so that is that. Let's give just some real quick foreground elements into the scene. Okay. Now, I can't stamp something like a cabin or something in here because the background has already been set. So if I stamped a cabin right here, all that blue is going to be showing right into the cabin. But going with some solid imagery, going with whatever you want, is fine. Let's go with this one right here. Let's just add some trees. I'm going to, kind of erase basically one of these moons in here by just stamping in some dark elements down there, okay? But, hey, I like to make use of my cards, even if they're demonstration cards where I just did some kind of scribble on them. I think it's good to go in and, kind of come up with some solutions for them as far as, making use of things. I always tell people don't toss anything out, no matter where the piece is currently. There's always something you can do with it. And sometimes you come up with the best solutions, too, if something isn't looking the way you want to at whatever stage it's in. My suggestion is you always just stick with it and keep going, okay? So I don't have my moon down there, but look at that little glow down there. It could be some kind of little reflective type of cloud or whatever, but look at that. I think this would be good if I stamped, a little word stamp up here or something like that, or in white. You can emboss it in white or something like that. If that's too bright, I could wait for this to dry and then hit this with some blue or something like that. Yeah, there's all kinds of different things that you can do in here. Oh, let's go with the little bird stamp. I haven't used these. This one's like a real small version of an existing stamp that I squeezed into the perimeter of this this set here. This one is the Flock Silhouette Tiny. the full-size ones, I don't know, it's like 4 inches across or something like that. This one's like a 1 inch, maybe 1.25 inches or something like that. Okay. Like this. Light, even pressure. Don't press down as hard as you pressed with this stamp, because it's so much bigger. There's less surface area on this one, so you just want to give it adequate, even pressure, small stamps. Okay, another one down. What do we have here? I'm saving this one because I haven't figured out what I'm going to do with that one yet. I'm trying to think if I can even get rid of one of these impressions down here. I mean, I could stamp that, that if this was just stamped over this whole thing right there, I mean, that would do it, but that, I don't know, that's kind of cheating. That would be too easy for me to do that. So let's come up with a little bit more of a slightly varied solution for that. Let's think about this rock maybe down here. This rock is not going to cover up that very well, but will it cover it up enough? I don't know. Or I can cover up this side like that. This one's a little bit lower down on here. If I flip it like that, let's do that. Okay, let's go like this. No, it isn't going to cover it up completely. We're going to still see that thing showing through, but I'll employ, some additional stamps, maybe the tree. But it'll just have a little bit more variation having this this boulders with lichen down here, okay? It's not going to solve that area in the top there, but I'll show you what I'll do with that. Okay, so there's the rock there. It's all murky and all gunked up and everything like that. So let's take this again. I inked it up right up top here, and let's stamp it again down here. Let me slightly change the angle. we're going for eradication most of the times. I'm not eradicating too much. I don't know, this is kind of an extreme eradication of visual form. Okay, so that's where the rock is, right in here. Still have this area I can tone in just with, you know, some additional ink toning down there. Okay, but let's take this now. Let's take our torn paper towel, or a torn paper towel. Let's find an angle here that'll work. That looks pretty good right there. Or, yeah, let's go like this one right here. Okay, now I am going to use this tree. I do need some solids. I can't go with anything too airy. I just don't want to just blot, you know, blot off everything. Going across that way. Okay, so I'll go with a tree like that. I got to fill in a little bit like that. I should have undermasked a little bit more. So that little space right in there, not going to be any big deal. And I'm going to put this tree right here. I'm going to go right over the top of it so you have a tree in front of and a tree behind this rock right here, okay? The big area that I want to get rid of are those reflections right there. Yeah, I know this is all pretty gummed up, you know, but we'll do something with that still. Okay. Now, I don't know if I'm going to color. I'm not going to color this right now because these impressions right here are super juicy and it's going to be really wet. Even if I heat set it, you know, I don't know, I'd have to heat set it a little bit too much. There's so much ink on this pad right now. Okay, so that is that. Let's go for a little bit more visual weight contrast. Okay, so I'm putting this, I'm using the pine here now, okay, as opposed to the spruce large. So it's just a little bit lighter and airier. See, it's giving me a little bit of contrast. I'll go with one a little bit lower here. Like that. I mean, you could put another one in front of it, but this is so busy and loud down here. I'm thinking, let's just go with those ones right up there. Okay, so anyways, that's coming together. Yeah, okay. It's still, you know, kind of gummed up down here because there's so much texture. So what I'm doing is I'm just bringing this in like this, bringing in some extra tone here. And we'll put this whole area down here in the shadow. I don't necessarily want to make it solid, okay? I do want there to be a little bit of form down here of those rocks. Otherwise, there's no point in doing it. I could just blacken in the whole thing. But let's just go with this for right now. Okay. Something like this. And you have this area right in here, okay? Now, why I don't just kind of completely black it out down here is because I want to get a little bit of color in here. So if I leave it like that, then we can add that color in later. Okay, now, like I said, I'm not going to color in all this stuff right here because I can't add color right in here yet because all these images are still wet. But, let's see, let's take some of this ink off. This is, you know, this one's all dry up here. Let's go for a little bit of a, you know, tonal gradation and kind of framing up here. And I'll bring in some additional inks in here, some additional colors. But let's just give it kind of a foundation, kind of a grayscale kind of lighting scheme. Okay, now I can't come in right here because I'm going to smear that. So same thing right here. So I'm just going to that, but look at that little horizon glow up there. So we'll follow suit by bringing in, you know, that additional tone down here. But as far as the foreground goes, you know, I mean, that was a big thing to get rid of, and it'll integrate more when I bring in the colors in here. But that's that for right now. Okay, on something like this looks really unresolved to me because it's just, I think it was just that one color of blue that I used in the background, okay? So it's not quite so integrated yet. So I think going with an additional blue tone will help. So let's go with, I think I stamped that one in Bahama blue. Let's go with a little bit of this Danube blue here. Okay. Yeah, it's getting a little bit darker. Yeah, and that moon seems a little bit more integrated, okay? Now, I have a tendency of going pretty dark, at least in a little area of the perimeter there, like especially in the four corners, for that aspect that I was talking about. I'd like to increase my range of visual elements. Okay, textures, that's everything, color, contrast, the value scale. So, but on this one we won't go to black or something like that. Let's just leave this light, because that was the whole point of this one, is to do it in a lighter kind of color scheme and whatnot. Value range, value scheme, I guess. And so we can do a little comparison contrast. Okay, so that is that. That's just two tones of blue up here, but I think that's, that's reasonably rich in terms of a value scheme, without going, to black right up here, which would really pop that out. But maybe we want it to kind of more, exist in a more mellow way and not stand out quite as much, okay? Let's stamp out a quote stamp. I don't like going, with this right down here. I think it's a little bit, too centered, but I thought, why not? This is kind of a big quote here, My inclination would be more to put like a little quote, word stamp right up here in the sky next to the moon, but let's just play around with some things here. This is a quote on lakes. Okay, a lake is the landscape's most beautiful and expressive feature. It is Earth's eye, looking into which the beholder measures the depth of his own nature. Henry David Thoreau. It's a quote from one of our scenic sentiment sets. It's a grouping of curated quote stamps that would go with, your scenes. Okay, I have to be careful here. If this was a different element than words, you can kind of overlap, but I don't necessarily want. You don't overlap words usually, unless it's a super bold word, and even with overlapping, you can still see it. But I'm framing off a little bit with, those reed stamps down there like that, and. Let's see. Let's use some of the leaves here. Okay, we came from below with our foreground element. Let's hit it from above with a foreground element, okay? But look out, I don't know. The word tranquil comes to mind when I see something like this, okay? There's a certain tranquility and peacefulness to this, okay? As opposed to, I don't know, like this, right? I mean, even if I removed the crack into that octopus, down there, okay? I don't know, just I'm talking about just strictly the color scheme, okay? And this one right here, okay, I find this tranquil too. But I mean, this one would look, I think it looks fine with those, that grouping up there of birds. But if you stamp some bats up there, that could easily be a Halloween card or something like that, or if you have a witch flying in front of that moon. But that being said, if I splatter painted this with snow or something like that, if you had a little flying Santa, it would look great for a Christmas card. I mean, the themes, just the easiest thing to change, some sort of a thematic nature of a given, visual. It's, it's using that standard iconography. But, what I'm getting at here is just showing you what you can do with color or something like that, in terms of kind of the emotional content of a piece. Okay, so we have this one right here, and the other one I just stamped some. Maybe we'll save this moon on this one. And let's see, what should we put down here? Gosh, I wonder if I could stamp this over this. I mean, we'll have that big blue area like that. Let's try something here. Let's go with this. Here, let's just tone that out, okay? Like about like so. Okay. Let me see if I can do something with the boulders with lichen again, okay? But let's do it in black. All right, take this and get a good impression of it. You want that ink to transfer over there because we want this impression to be nice and dark. Okay, see, it just stamped right over. This is not exactly a closed design in terms of having a lot of solids in it, but it's kind of interesting. Look at that little bend right there in the that was in the moon stamp. It's right. Where is it? Oh, it's right here. It's this little area right here. Or is it? Oh, wait. Oh, no. I'm sorry. It was this design right here. So this little thing right there is that little. It looks like an E or something like that. It's right. Here we go. There it is, I think. Is that it? Something like that. Yeah, there it is, right there. That little thing, the little squiggle. The squiggle kind of stands out to me a little bit. I can, you can color that in with something. Let's see here. Let's do, I think I saw her, I just used this stamp the other day. Let's stamp her again. Maybe the bigger one would be better. It's a lady writer. I don't see my larger version. It's not on my desk right here, and I don't feel like going and getting it, so I'll go for a smaller little lady writer here. Okay. And ink it up. Stamp her kind of on the top ridge. Stamp her a little bit lower so it doesn't have to match up exactly with the ridge, Standing right there. Okay, but look at that, I don't know, it just seemed that someone going out and writing at night, it's always kind of intrigued me, someone going out for a night anything, a night walk or something like that, as long as it's safe, But, I don't know. There's a certain type of emotional quality to it. It's very still and quiet, don't you think? When you do something, it's a night depiction of some sort of activity. Okay, I think it would look different if she was out in a sunset or something like that. That would look good too, but just from that emotional kind of quality, a different quality to it at nighttime like this. See this? I'm just kind of filling in down here, now that I've stamped her out, I'm kind of giving some additional visual weight to the rocks, because she was kind of the darkest thing. So I want her to sit, to be walking on a, solid foundation of, tone down here. Okay. Something like that. Now, I don't know if you see it here, but I kind of created, here's kind of a light area up here, and then here's kind of a lighter area down here. Still, remember the moon was there. I toned it out, but it's still lighter than the surrounding areas. So you have light, dark, and light. So there's an area of light, darkness, and an area of light down here again. It's not as light. You don't have to match lighting, okay? Now, if this was something like water, it would be more reflective, but rocks don't reflect as much light as, something like water. So you do something like that. Okay, and I think that looks good as is, but let's just use, here, let's put these pine trees here again, okay? Just because I have them out right next to me, so we'll put these, a nice bold kind of framing element right in here, okay? You stamp one a little bit higher, one a little bit lower, whatever you want it to go. Now, because I have this little figure on here now, I've made reference to how large this rock is. I can't stamp one of these spruce trees behind the rock, okay? Because it would, this person's right here. It would, if I put this behind the rock here, it would say that the tree's gigantic back there, okay? By reference, where, I did put the rock behind the tree on this one. Just because I'm saying that the space in between the rock isn't as vast. So everything's by perspective. You put, a little rider, next to this, and you're saying that these reeds are, whatever, 15 feet high, but if you stamp your little figure way in the background, these are in the foreground, you're seeing that these are just a standard size right here. But anyways, let's take a look at this right here. Now, this isn't going in, adding in any, additional effects like, little highlights or something like this. But like I said, these are really sopping wet right now. And I don't feel like adding in those additional finishing touches on here just yet. Maybe I'll make that another video or something like that. But these are just ways to, take these pieces of demo cardstock and make something out of it. Now, this one's not very unresolved. It looks all kind of really messy. This one's the biggest challenge for me to make something out of. Maybe I'll put something in here and tone it in and color it in and whatnot. But look at that one right there, the kraken, and the fish, unbeknownst to the fishermen, it's like sneaking up on them from from the depths. Okay, well, quote stamp. Quotes can be kind of your focal point too, because what happens when there's letter forms, words in a visual space, everyone reads it, they might be drawn to something else first, but then they'll kind of focus in on that, so it becomes kind of a visual anchor point, just like that character is right there. These people are right here, we focus in on those people. Just like here, your eyeball probably goes straight to those birds up there when you look at something like this. But anyways, just different ways to finish things off. Now, none of these were matte papers. If they were, then I could have finished them off with, some colored pencils or something like that you've seen me use recently, or, any other types of things. I could use some brilliance inks on here, and I don't know, metallics, and just go for a completely different look altogether, but I don't know. This is just a simple lesson on not tossing your pieces. This one, like I said, that one's not finished, but I think I can make it look decent. But all these other ones, just, I had 2 moons on there, so you just stamp over it, and that's one of those things that you can easily do in scenic stamping. You don't like something, darken it in or something like that and put it in the shadows. It's not like we have some kind of like word stamp that says happy birthday in black here. Well, then we would have to cover it up. You could cover it up with, like the spruce trees or something of that sort. But by and large, this rock right here, I don't really see the moon underneath there anymore. There was a little element of it in that little squiggle there, but not, it's not too bad. I mean, I don't think anyone would look at this and say, oh, wait, there's a sky figure behind there. What's going on? That doesn't look right. Yeah. All right, so anyways, hope you enjoyed it. Save your scraps. Don't toss them. You can send them to me or just hold on to them. Finish them off at a later date, when you, I don't know, develop other types of techniques or something like that. And I think you'll be pleasantly surprised with just about what you can do, which is anything, practically anything, with whatever incarnation of a scene happens to be in at the time. You can always kind of build on it or whatnot. And that doesn't even include, like I said, trimming things and using, different portions of it, for different purposes that were completely, not thought about or preconceived. Okay, so anyways, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you on the next video.